Scene three, take one. Ooh, yeah.
Point at the camera.
Yeah. Tell me when.
Nice one, mate.
No worries.
Okay. So, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hi. Yeah, I'm Dr Fabola. I'm a singer-songwriter based in Manchester, UK.
Okay. How long have you been doing it for?
I've been involved in creative pursuits, playing instruments and making music for quite a while now, maybe 10 to 15 years, but actively and publicly just a handful of years. So I started making my way around the Manchester music scene in 2019, and since then I've, just taking it one step at a time, I guess.
That's really cool. Did you say about 3 years ago? Did you take your first steps?
Yeah. So I played my first open mic May 2019 and got very heavily and actively involved in the scene for the rest of 2019 and early 2020 until what happened and but this whole time I've just been trying to stay creative and just write songs, practice my instruments, hone my craft, and just take things one step and one day at a time.
So, have you done an open mic now since everything started opening again?
Yeah, I've been trying to get out a bit more now. I've done quite a few actually. I did one last night, if you can believe it. So it's so nice to see things opening up again and going on the scene, seeing old friends who you used to gig with, and also meeting new people, some of whom for some reason I never crossed paths with before the pandemic, and just some new people that have arrived and are starting to make their way out on the scene. So it's been nice. Yeah.
That's great. Tell us a bit more about the latest tracks you've been working on, the latest songs.
Okay, I'll talk about Something Good, which is one of the songs that I've released recently. And it's a really simple song. Just a line that I repeat over and over. I could do with something good, and it's for me it's a song about hope. I wrote it shortly after the first lockdown last year, and what happened was one day I found myself out on my daily permitted walk. You remember that time where we were only allowed to go out once a day for exercise. So I was out one day just taking my time, working slowly and gingerly. And I remember looking around and just saying, everything shut, right? Businesses are out of work. The city was a ghost town essentially. And I'll admit I wasn't in the best place mentally as well, and I just remembered thinking in my head I could do with something good right now. And I got back home. I was playing around on the guitar, and that line stuck with me. And I just started singing it. I added some melody and some chords. I could do with something good. I could do with something good, and that essentially made up the chorus of that song. And I added a couple of verses, right? So the process of creating that song was one that just brought me hope, being able to sing my feelings. And when things opened up a bit towards the end of last year, I was fortunate enough to go in the studio, and it was the first song I recorded in that week-long session I had, along with a couple of other songs. So yeah, it just made sense to release it for me to say to the world, here's a thing that came out of lockdown, and I sort of did during lockdown. And this song brought me hope and respite and solace from all the unfortunate incidents that we've had. And I just releasing it I was kind of thinking, hopefully it brings you hope too. Hopefully it makes you happy as well. And that's it. Something good.
That's really cool. And the other songs that you played earlier?
Yeah, so two songs, Born of a Woman and Butterflies, they have stories behind them as well. So Born of a Woman, actually, I wrote not too long after I wrote Something Good. But I ended up not recording it as part of that recording session I spoke about. It just, I went into the studio with 15 songs and we ended up recording 9 of them. The Born of a Woman didn't make the cut because I just felt it's one that can come at a later time. And well, as for that song, it didn't start out as a song at all. You see, one of the things I do, right, because I don't know if you get this a lot. People would often ask you, "Oh, what's your creative process like? Where do your songs come from?" And for me, it's not a straightforward thing, right? Sometimes I set out to write a song, right? I put my head down and I go, "Oh, I have a line in my head. This will be a song," and it happens like something good. But sometimes I write for the sake of writing. I journal quite regularly just to process my thoughts. And when I wrote Born of a Woman, I was having quite a tough time. Again, this was in middle of the pandemic, right? After the first lockdown. And I was struggling with the days. If you listen to the song, you'd find that the first line in that song was, "I've had a really long day. Nothing good has come my way," right? And I wrote it all down. I wrote about how I was feeling, and I was sitting by my window looking out at the skies and birds flying, and thinking, the birds have no idea what's going on right now. It's like a bird's life must be way easier, way simpler than human's life. I'm imagining that they have no ability to worry. They have no ability to think about what's going to happen tomorrow. What does the future hold? Theirs is pretty simple. Wake up, graze, find food, eat, go to bed, wake up, rinse and repeat, right? It's like, it's that simple existence. And I was wondering, wouldn't it be easier to just be a bird in the sky right about now, not having this complex ability to worry and plan for the future? And I was, for a moment there, I was wishing that I could just be like an animal without this ability to worry. And that feeling sat with me for a while. I wrote it all down. But later on, I found myself also thinking, well, as nice as that is in theory, as much as I would love the ability to not worry, um, worrying is just a part of the human experience. And if I lose that ability to worry and plan for the future, maybe I would lose other things that are key to the human experience. I'd probably lose the ability to string words and sentences together, to write about my experiences, to make songs, to play guitar. And all of these things make me human, right? So this human experience, this, I guess, deeply flawed, sometimes challenging human experience is the one I have. So I have to take the good with the bad. And that's kind of how I bring the song around and end it, right? I start off wishing, surely it's easier to be a bird in the sky, but I end by going, well, if I could be like a bird in the sky, then I wouldn't be me. And me, this, I think, is good. I like my life, and for all its flaws, it's the one I have, and I'm trying to live it to its fullest. So that is Born of a Woman in a nutshell. Um, the other song, Butterflies, that one I wrote much later. So Born of a Woman, Something Good, they were in last year, shortly after lockdown. I wrote Butterflies this February, right? Around the week after Valentine's Day. And as you've heard it, right? So it's a it's a love song. It's again quite simple. After all this time, I still get butterflies when I look in your eyes, right? It was inspired by a story, right? I remember being out and just having this. There's this really old man who, he was probably out like shopping for, I don't know, chocolate or flowers or something for his like significant or other, for his partner, and he just wouldn't stop talking about how so in love he was with his partner after all this time. They've been together years and years and years, right? And he's like, he has a man who is talking about being in love as if it's his first time. I just found that so beautiful. You can contrast this with so many stories you hear about love, right? Almost everyone has an experience they can tell you about where they've been heartbroken or where they've given up on love, where people say, well, love is hard, there are too many wrinkles. It's like it's not worth the pain or the heartbreak, right? And this is a thing almost anyone can relate to. But then there's this guy who's going, "Well, I still get butterflies when I look in your eyes," and I just thought that was so beautiful. And I wanted to write about it from the first person point of view, from my experience, because this was me wishing. Yeah, I wish I had that, right? I want to be able to say about my partner decades from now that, every time I look at you, it feels like the first time I still get butterflies. And that's the song in a nutshell.
It's a beautiful song. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
Are you working on any music at the moment?
Yeah, I'm always working on new music because, as I said earlier, I'm always writing, right? Some of the things I write would turn into songs. Doesn't always happen. And sometimes I make a conscious effort to write music and then make a plan for recording and producing and releasing. So, yeah, I'm happy to announce that I have a song coming out. Before the end of autumn is all I can say at the moment. Like, we have a planned date and everything in mind, but this is a song about the fall, the autumn season. It's going to be called Autumn Dream, and the idea behind the song again is, well, we've had a hell of a year. Things are quite different and challenging and tough for many at the moment, but um, somehow we're still here, we're still standing, and right now I just want to be able to take solace in the simple pleasures of life. I just want to be able to go for a walk along the stream, walk on golden leaves and just chill with friends and family. And this is my dream for the season. This is my autumn dream. That's the song in a nutshell. And it's one of those songs because it's so time bound, so season bound. You have to release it in the season it's relevant, and you play it at your gigs for a while, but then winter comes and spring comes and summer comes, and the song isn't relevant for 3/4 of the year, but then autumn will come back around and you'll be able to sing and play the song again. So that's Autumn Dream. It will be out sometime before the end of the season.
That's cool. In your process, how long would you say it takes from the initial concept to writing to putting it together and then releasing it?
Longer than I would like is the short answer. The slightly longer answer would be, well, sometimes you can write a song in 20 minutes. Sometimes it will take 3 months for a song. So maybe you start working on it, you've abandoned it, you forget it, you come back around much later when it feels relevant again, you finish it. It just depends, right? But that's that. Like, then you have a written song that you may or may not be happy with. You'd sit with it for a couple of days, maybe practice it, fine tune it, move things around, change the structure, right? And then you go, all right, this could be something someday. This could end up as a single release, or it could be a track on an EP or album someday. And then you start to make a plan for what that's going to be like. Um, if I had ready access to sort of recording facilities or a studio, the moment I've written it and structured it and I'm happy, I would go into that session with it. But I don't, especially now where things are just opening up again. So for me, I just keep writing songs and writing as many as I can and structuring them, thinking about how and when I'd want to release it. And then I would, make a plan with it. So I work with an indie label in London. They call it Animal Farm. So I'd send them home demos occasionally. When I've written a couple of songs, I'd do like rough and ready recordings of them at home as demos and send to them and go, for the next time I'm in the studio. And then I'd make a plan, travel down to London, spend like a week in the studio as I did last year to record a bunch of songs, and then I'd work with them to make a plan to release. So that's kind of how it usually happens. So there's, again, to recap, there's a whole bunch of songs I recorded about a year ago that still haven't been released, and that's okay. We have quite a backlog of these songs, and we're making a plan with strategy to release them. They'll come out all eventually.
So you say your studio's based down in London?
Yeah, yeah. The so why I've recorded the last couple of songs there in southeast of London, and they've been really good to me. So they have a studio with the producers and the kit and everything. I turn up. After sending some demos, we have a conversation about what we think the songs are going to be, which ones to record, how to structure and release them. We'll record and then we'll make a plan and strategy for releasing, right, with the promotions and the marketing and the whole 9 years.
So, um, did you find your studio in London, or are you originally from London?
I no I no, I'm not from London. How did I come to work with this, fellas? Ah, um, a while ago I submitted a bunch of, I guess, home demo tracks on Submit Hub. I don't know if you're familiar with Submit Hub, but it's a thing that lets people send songs to labels, bloggers, music writers, and things for publicity or promotions and things like that. So there was a song I sent around a while ago, and someone picked it up and went, "Oh, this sounds interesting. Fancy a conversation sometime." And I ended up being the managing director of this label, and I had a couple of Zoom calls with him, and were like, "Oh yeah, I'd be happy to work with you. They've got the resources that can really help me, and I can keep writing the songs, and they've have it all in one place, and they'd help formulate a strategy to help take my career to the next level, you see." So would record with them, they produce it, they've got the contacts and the facilities for marketing and everything. So it's a mutually beneficial arrangement at the moment, that I'm happy with. I hope they're happy with it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're with a record label.
Yeah. They're it's not like the guns blazing sort of big industry record label or anything. So it's a boutique indie label. They've got quite a few artists on the roster, and there's people that they work with, and they're always happy to work with grassroots artists to just help raise the profile. And I'm fortunate enough to be one of them at the moment.
Okay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Do you have anything like any goals that you're currently like working towards in regards to your career in the music industry?
Goals is an interesting one. I guess I'm trying to take it one step at a time. I'm trying to stay in love with the process of creating music, right? From the writing of song, lyrics, melody, to being able to conceptualize what it would sound like when you go in the studio to record it. The whole process, it's a journey, it's a grind, especially for us, people that don't have like resources or heavy like money backers or anything like that. So I'm just trying to, as challenging as it can be sometimes, I'm trying to make sure I put one foot in front of the other, and I'm trying to make sure that, well, today's better than yesterday, this year's better than last year. It's really difficult now because, things are just opening up again. But in terms of my goals, I want to be able to get a bit more publicity and airtime for the music, have it all out there, just have people know my name and my brand and my sound. I like to think I've tried to stay true to who I am, and I've tried to be myself. And I think this would help me stand out in the industry, because it's quite a saturated space. There's no shortage of artists, very talented artists, right? So maybe everyone needs some sort of unique selling point, and mine is just, well, I am me. What you see is what you get. Bit rough around the edges, but this is me. So with all of this in mind, I'm trying to put it all out there and just get as much publicity as I can. I want people to be able to appreciate the music I make. A lot of my music revolves around storytelling, and I want someone to hear it, and for the story to resonate. I want people to get it, and I want people to get the warm, fuzzy feeling that music, gives people, right? So that would be the overarching goal. There would be side benefits that would come along with all of that, with having music out there and having more people engage with it. And I welcome all of those benefits as well. Not gonna lie.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Thank
moving
you.
forward.
Thank you.
Is there any final thoughts you wanted to give to your audience?
Um, yeah. I guess the first thing is thank you to anyone who's listening or watching this. Thank you for yeah, taking the time to listen, for taking a chance on an unknown, a small artist like me. It means the world. And yeah, I hope that for anyone who's heard some of the songs or who goes to check out some of my other stuff online, I hope it helps you feel good. I hope it makes your day better. And if it does, I'd love to hear from you, and I'd appreciate if you could share my work with your friends and your family, because I do think this is the best way to grow as a musician or content creator of sorts, like word of mouth, right? Natural engagement. And this is a thing that I'm hoping to take off in the next few weeks and months. So, yeah, thank you for taking a chance on indie artists like us. Please support your local music scene, your local musicians. People are struggling, so every little helps.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for taking your time to have this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and singing for you. So thank you for having me.